Hey everybody, hope you're having a great Tuesday. I just wanted to share a quick video of something that I found really just by accident as I was doing some reading. A lot of you have mentioned to me that you have a need for helping your students with reading and comprehending science texts that you give them to read. So I'm just going to share this, that's not it. I just want to share this activity that I found, or it's not really an activity, it's a strategy that I found that relates reading text to the cross-cutting concepts of the science standards, which I think is really important. That's kind of what caught my eye when I was looking at it. Many of you have probably heard about the strategy of talking to the text. That's not a new thing. That's something that's been around for a while. But what I liked about this particular spin on it is it tries to get students to talk to the text in the context of the concepts, the cross-cutting concepts that are so hard sometimes for us to get across to them. So I'm not going to go through this strategy step by step, but I do want to share the overall gist of it with you. And if you are interested in more information, just send me an email and I'll be glad to send you the steps and some more examples of using this particular strategy. It's called the ladder of discourse. There's lots of different spins on that as well, but this one is really to the point, and that's what I liked about it. So pretty much what you do is you provide your students with a science topic reading and ask them to read the first page. You don't want to overwhelm them by asking them to do this with the entire thing, but if you give them just the first page and ask them to do this, you're going to ask them to read, and as they do, they're going to climb that ladder. That's what it's called, the ladder of discourse for. Well, what does that mean? It's a strategy to help them think critically as they read. And instead of just mumbling words on a page, it changes those, or the intent of it is to change those words into a meaningful set of sentences so that they understand what they're reading as they interact with it. And then after they've engaged with it individually, then hopefully they're more ready to discuss it with you or with a group or the class or whoever. So what those rungs are, what they represent is you got different things that they do when they interact with the text. They can simply relate to it, and they call that a tweet. Maybe they've heard of a word before, or they've heard of something before, and they note that. Or there's something they don't understand, and it causes them to ask, what is that? And they would note that. Or then if they found an answer to one of their questions, or they discovered what the purpose of this reading is, they would put that at that point. Now, the biggest part of this strategy is the discourse part, where they add their own thoughts, their own questions, their own ideas to the text, something that's not directly in there, but it causes them, it's what they think of when they read that. And then a really important part, and this part right here, on the cross-cutting concepts document, which I'll show you in a second, there are bullet points that kids really need to understand in order to understand that concept. So if you can get them to relate that science concept to this reading strategy, you've really done something, I think. So if you look at this cross-cutting concept sheet, it gives you the breakdown of what a pattern really is and what cause and effect it means and what scale, proportion, and quantity and all of the rest of the cross-cutting concepts that we're supposed to be hitting with them all the time. This is a way that they can actually make sense of, say, energy. If they're reading about energy in a particular reading, they can use that bullet or whatever. How does it relate to it so that they can kind of make a connection to it, to that there. So what they're actually going to do is they're going to actually write on the document. They'll have their ladder of discourse steps that's on here, and their cross-cutting concept bullets with them so that they can use those for support. They're supposed to read slowly, every 2 to 3 sentences, talk to the text, ask a question, tell what they think the purpose of it is, make a connection to a cross-cutting concept, and note those on the reading. I'm going to show you some examples here in a second. The point of all of this is to improve students' depth of understanding while they read. And a lot of the teachers that use this that I've read about said they can really see a difference in how well their students can understand the reading that they're given if they're given time to actually interact with it like this. So then if you want to use that text, the content in that text for a discussion, think of how much richer your discussion can be if they've had time to interact with it first, to think about their own questions, to think about their own ideas and things like that. So it might lead to more questions. It might lead to better discussion. It might set you up in your unit to go a different direction that you didn't even think of before. So if you want to consider using this or you want to learn more about it, just let me know. I do want to show you, here's an example of a reading. Notice this one is about weather. It's about humidity, dew point, and clouds. And what the teacher did is they give this one-page document to them, and they ask them to interact with it. And so here are some examples of some pictures of, I know you can't see this very well because it's really faint, but you can see where kids have documented in the margin. They've underlined, they've circled, they've asked questions, they've documented on the actual document itself. So they've interacted with the document. That's the same one. Hang on a second. This is where the teacher, the example that I found, blew it up, where they related this article. They found a place where they see stability and change being described, and they can relate to what that actually means. Another one here, they did cause and effect, where they can see that as one thing happens, it caused another effect to happen. And this is when we're talking about, in this particular article, temperature and water vapor. This one is about scale and proportion. I know you can't see that very well, but it causes the student to ask a question about, if something changes or does something happen, how does that affect the amount of something or the scale of something or whatever? And again, there's another scale, proportion, and quantity example. I've got lots of these examples. If you want to see them more closely, just let me know, and I'll be glad to share any of this. Because I know reading is a big deal, particularly for the middle school teachers. So if you're interested in any more of this or learning any more about this strategy or want the documents associated with the strategy, just let me know. Again, Susan and I are always available. Anybody that needs us, just send us an email. We're enjoying our visits. We'll probably be visiting you soon. So if there's anything we can do in the meantime, please just let us know.